In this lecture, we'll discuss environment and environment variables. And they are pretty much tied together, environment and environment variables. And what environment variables are is that they are pretty similar to global variables, that they have a much specified scope, a much narrower scope. And environments are ideal when you have different kind of setups using the same collection. And a use case for that would be that you have a server or you're developing an API where you have local host and you have a testing system and you have a production system, and you can easily switch between all those setups. But even in our case where we're using Trello, you can use two different Trello accounts and put them in different environments and simply switch between them without actually changing the request that you are using. So let me show you how you can use that and what exactly does this narrow scope mean and how everything ties out together. So for that, I'm back in Postman. I'm using here, you see on top, there's no environment defined, or there's no environment available to select. So I'm gonna click here the environment inspection, and right here we have the possibility of adding a new environment. And so let's call this Trello. And ideally we take the value for the API and token that we already have. So let's simply click add here. And I have the possibility of going back to globals. I'm gonna bulk edit this, select all, copy. Then I can switch it back, cancel. And I'm gonna edit now this environment, bulk edit. Now we have back the same lines the same values that we had in the global variables as well. Okay, so what has changed now? When I'm going to create a new board, if you look at the parameters, the syntax here to be used inside the request builder is the same. We can use still the double curly brackets. I'm gonna hover over the key, and you will see here that the scope is global, and this is the value. Okay. Now still on top we don't have any environment selected. So now if I select Trello and I hover over Trello key, you will see here that now the scope is environment. So it means that the global scope is available everywhere in all the collections, but so is the environment scope. But if I don't select a specific environment, then I don't have an environment that's active. So it means that only the global variables are available. But once I select an environment, what Postman will do is first look at, do I have an environment? Yes. Does Trello key exist in this environment? Then take this environment variable. And if it doesn't exist, then go to the global scope and see if there's a variable called Trello key inside there. So it's pretty easy then to see the difference if I go back, and you will even see here that they are not active. And I can even see, and I can even put here instead of Trello key foo in here bar. I can save them. It will be much easier for you now to detect that, okay, the value is still taken from the environment. And if I don't select the environment, you will see here that the global variable of foo was taken. So what you can do with this is create multiple environments, and for each environment store the information that is relevant for that environment. So as I said previously, you could create two environments for Trello, and you can use the same API and the same requests with two different environments, one from account A and one from account B. You should be able to create boards and lists and so on, and pretty easily switch between the environments. So it will be something like, let's edit this. I can simply copy this and duplicate. Let's say here that this is Trello B. And now we have here totally different keys. Just fake keys, but just to exemplify how this switching actually would work. So this is Trello, this is the normal environment that we have. And now we can switch to the other account. And you will see now still an environment variable with two different values. And this is something that in the global scope it's not generally possible because you only have one Trello key and one Trello token or whatever values you put inside there. Why would you want to use environments from another perspective? Environments can be good if you see that your global space is a bit too crowded. Now, in this case, we only have one collection, and only this collection uses the values Trello key and Trello token. But imagine that you have even more generic variables. So we set something like board ID. And then you're probably wondering, where is this the board ID from Trello, or is this the board ID from another application, another API? You can even have colliding information, or you will not be able to separate them from one another. So for that reason, it is sort of a good idea to use environments, even for cases when you do not really have this need of using multiple accounts, but you will just keep things a bit more separated from one another. Now we established that in the request builder, there's nothing that needs to be changed in order to use environment variables. But in order to use environment variables inside the scripts, there are a few changes that need to be made. So if you want to access environment variables in the scripts, this is pretty similar to the way that you do it with global variables. And the only difference is actually that instead of global, you will say environment. So it will be pm.environment.set, pm.environment.get, unset and clear all remain the same. So instead of global, use environment, and everything will then work as we expect. So this is all you need to know about environments at this point.